So fun fact, did you know that the plural of cannoli is still just cannoli? It's true. Cannoli are a classic recipe, but they take a little time and finesse to get them just right. I'm going to show you just how to master them the first time and every time. From the crispy, bubbly shells to the lightly sweet filling, they're so good, and I have the perfect recipe for you today. Hi, I'm Lindsay from Life, Love, and Sugar, and today we're making cannoli. So the first thing we're going to put together is our shell dough. So we're going to mix together our dry ingredients. We have all-purpose flour, some sugar, a little bit of cinnamon, and some salt. We'll stir all this together. All right, now we're going to cube our butter. Should be nice and cold. All right, and we'll add our cubed butter to our dry ingredients. All right, now you can cut the butter into the dry ingredients with a pastry cutter or just a fork. I'm kind of a fork gal myself. All right, so once your butter is cut into the dry ingredients pretty well and it's about pea-sized, we're gonna go ahead and use our hands to kind of grab that butter and really disperse it into that flour. All right, when you no longer feel any big lumps of butter, you should be ready to move on to the next step. All right, so now we're gonna form a well in the middle of our dry ingredients. We're gonna add our beaten egg, our Marsala wine, some water, and vinegar. And then we'll stir all of this together. It'll start to form kind of a shaggy dough, and then it'll all start to come together. All right, so now we can use our hands again to kind of help this all come together and form a ball. All right, now we can take this out onto the countertop. You can use a little flour to dust your surface if you need to. If it's sticking, I find mine usually doesn't. We'll go ahead and knead this a few times and get it to all come together and smooth out. All right, so once this all comes together and forms a nice smooth ball, we are going to put it into some clear wrap. And then we can pop this into the fridge for at least 2 hours or up to 24 hours. All right, so now we're going to make our filling. We've got a combination of ricotta, mascarpone cheese, and some powdered sugar. Ricotta can tend to be a little bit watery, so I have strained mine overnight in the fridge. Just a little cheesecloth and a strainer set over a bowl. And we've got a little bit of liquid in there, but all brands can vary. Ooh, look at that. There we go. Didn't drain out, but we're squeezing it out. You don't want your cannoli filling to be too thin and not stay in place in your shells, so you definitely want to get rid of much of that moisture as you can. Oh yeah, quite a bit of liquid there. All right, we'll go ahead and add this to our bowl over here. Now we've got our mascarpone cheese and some powdered sugar. And I'm going to try to gently kind of fold this all together. I don't want to overwork the mascarpone cheese or it can get kind of watery. So I want to be a little bit gentle, but make sure it's all evenly mixed. All right, so once all of that is mixed together, we can cover this with some clear wrap. And we'll pop this in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours or even overnight and let it set. Okay, so while we are rolling and cutting out our cannoli shells, we also want to heat up our oil on the stove. You want about 2 to 3 inches of whatever oil you like to use. I've got vegetable oil in there, and you want to heat it to about 375 degrees. So that's heating up. We're gonna roll our shells out. All right, so I'm gonna cut this in half, and we'll work with half of it at a time. You wanna flour your surface a little so it doesn't stick too much. And then we can start rolling this out. It does have a tendency to be sticky and it'll spring back at you. So you just gotta keep rolling it. You can add flour as needed. Flour will help it not be sticky, but I also find it helps it not spring back quite so much. Now you do wanna roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick, which is pretty thin. But in order to get that nice bubbly outside on your shell, you really want it to be nice and thin. All right, it's looking pretty good. Now we can cut out our circles. You want to use about a 4 to 4.5 inch circle. Mine's 4 inches. We're going to cut these out, and you'll notice that as we do, they are going to spring back, and that's okay. Okay, now we're going to set these aside and put them under some plastic wrap so they don't dry out. We're going to let these rest while we keep cutting out our circles. All right, now we'll roll this back into a ball, roll it back out, and cut out some more circles. Okay, so you should be able to get about 25 cannoli shells out of the dough, depending on the size of the cutter that you use. So I'm going to go ahead and start working with these. They've been resting while we cut out all of our circles. So now we're going to pull these out and we're going to re-roll them to help them because they have sprung back and shrunk up a little bit, and we don't want them to be quite that small. Plus, when they shrink up, they get thicker, and we want them nice and thin. I try my best to get it into a circle shape, but if it's not quite a circle, it'll be fine. So I usually check to see that it's about the size of my original circle. If it's a little bigger, that can be fine. It just depends on what size you want your final cannoli shells to be. So you could actually cut this out again or just leave it. I'm just gonna leave it. And we're gonna wrap this around one of our cannoli molds. Before we wrap the shell around the mold, we want to add something to it to kind of grease it so that the shell doesn't stick to it later. You could use a little bit of oil. I like to use a nonstick baking spray. I find it easiest to put them in a pan like this, spray them, and kind of roll them around in the spray. All right, so now we can take one of our molds. We'll set it in the middle of our shell. We're going to fold one side over, add a little bit of egg wash, egg white, rub that on there to help the other side stick. Then we'll pull this over, and we've got one shell ready for frying. All right, so since I only have 8 molds, we're gonna go ahead and take these over and get them fried. Okay, so when your oil is up to temperature, you wanna go ahead and fry your shells. I like to put just 2 or 3 in at a time so that they don't bump into each other, they can stick or get a little messed up. So I'm gonna pop 3 in here. So they'll only need a few minutes in the pan. You just wanna keep an eye on them until they're kind of a golden brown. Just make sure you drain out the oil as you pull them out of the pot. They have that nice bubbly shell. We'll set them on a paper towel over here so they can cool. All right, we'll go ahead and fry the rest. Okay, so once all of your shells are fried and cooled, we're gonna go ahead and fill them. So grab your filling from the fridge. Should be a little bit thicker than it was. I'll stir this up. And now I'm going to add this to a piping bag. It's fitted with a large round tip. All right, now you also want to have whatever decorations you want. I'm going to put some mini chocolate chips on each end. Some chopped up pistachios also work well. You could even dip the ends of the shells in chocolate first and let that dry before you fill them. So we're going to go ahead. You're usually going to have to fill each side. There we go. We'll press this into our mini chocolate chips. Set this aside and work on the rest. All right, now you have your final cannoli. Perfect for gifting, taking to a party. They're great at the holidays. I hope you found today's video helpful as far as getting them perfect every time. For the full recipe, head over to lifeloveandsugar.com.